Peace, y'all. This is Ahshay. Welcome to Asè'Underground. And I'm starting a new series where I'm looking at the different planets throughout the tarot. I'm not a master of tarot, but I am a tarot enthusiast. So I'm going to just go over some of my research with you all. And today I'm looking into Jupiter. So with Jupiter, the two main cards is going to be the Temperance. Sagittarius also rules Temperance, and the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, because Jupiter, my Mercury is messing up. Jupiter is expansion, right? The library, going on long distance travel, exploring different ancient textbooks. That's actually really good for your Jupiter karma. I will talk about planetary karma later on this channel, so subscribe if you're into planetary karma. I've been into planetary karma for a minute, and I will shout out different references and different research in the description box below if you want to just go ahead and look into all that research. But yeah, reading different ancient textbooks is really good for your Jupiter karma, really auspicious for your Jupiter karma. Okay, treating your temple well is really good for your Jupiter karma, right? And if you have auspicious Jupiter karma, then maybe the Wheel of Fortune could be upright for you, right? And with the Temperance card here, I really love the alchemy going on in the cards. It just represents like the higher realms as well with the angel. So one of the articles I read talks about Two of Pentacles and how you see how she's doing alchemy here with the cups, and how that's also kind of happening with the Two of Pentacles. So the Two of Pentacles is, of course, minor arcana, the minor secrets, the day-to-day activities. So this is juggling our day-to-day responsibilities here. And I think it really shows having a good understanding and hold over the sixth house, right? When you're able to get your errands done, maybe cook a meal, get some laundry done in there, finish whatever homework you might have, etc., right? So yeah, Six of Wands is the success that we see in Jupiter. Jupiter expanding your luck. Jupiter's like winning the lottery, right? Expanding your luck, things like that. And then when we get into the Four of Swords and the Eight of Swords, we start seeing like the shadow side of Jupiter. So remember, just to recap, Wheel of Fortune and Temperance, Sagittarius, Two of Pentacles, Capricorn. I'm looking at my notes here. Capricorn. Six of Wands is Jupiter in Leo. So positive, auspicious feelings of Jupiter. Good signs of Jupiter here. And now inauspicious, even though Four Swords isn't inauspicious, it's rest, recuperation. It's what allows us to charge our battery up and basically do what we need to do to continue to have more success in our lives, to continue to charge up that Two of Pentacles, right? So that Four of Swords is really good for the Two of Pentacles, because we need to recuperate so that we can keep juggling our day-to-day activities and keep going towards our goals and our dreams and our achievements, right? So I like Four of Swords. And Eight of Swords, according to the article I read, is more like the downside of the Wheel of Fortune, right? Because change is inevitable. It's going to happen. And there is a bit of hope that Jupiter could come in and save you from the Eight of Swords, even though it's like a self-imposed prison and self-imposed bindment. Maybe it's just like a thought process, right? Because if you look at the shadow side of Jupiter, the shadow side of Jupiter is like someone, say you read your whole Bible, right? Or no, let's take it to music. Say you know all your scales, all your intervals, all your modulations, and you can improvise really well in jazz. You're a great jazz musician. And then someone comes to you and says, "Oh, I just love smooth jazz." Some of y'all know where I'm going with this. I just love smooth jazz. Like, that is my thing. And they think because you're a jazz musician that you're gonna love this topic about smooth jazz, right? But anyone in music knows that jazz musicians do not consider smooth jazz to be jazz. And this is where the shadow side of Jupiter shows up, right? Jupiter is an expansion, the library, Sagittarius, all this knowledge. You have all this knowledge as a jazz musician that you feel absolutely disrespected that someone would dare compare smooth jazz to actual jazz, right? It does not have the same rigor. It does not have the same, like, you know, what do you call it? Like the grammar's here for actual for jazz, and then smooth jazz, it's like it's maybe like the sixth grade reading level compared to college level reading level. Okay, right? So now the jazz musician is going in. Now the jazz musician is in his shadow side of Jupiter. Because how dare you just disrespect all this knowledge I've obtained, all this practice that I put in, right? All this time it took for me to get here. Just for this smooth jazz artist to not put in as much time. And maybe the smooth jazz artist did. Maybe it's a jazz artist or a musician that just loves smooth jazz. But for the ego in the shadow of Jupiter, the ego is going to say, I put all this time in and you are coming up to me, comparing me and my skill level to that of a smooth jazz artist. How dare you? You see what I'm saying? It happens in the tarot community too, in the occult, right? Because the tarot community, there's a lot of Christians in the tarot community. There's a lot of just people who enjoy the cards or enjoy the art, or you know what I'm saying? And then here comes the dark occultist. Here comes the dark occultist in his shadow, in the shadow of his Jupiter. How dare these tarot readers get up on YouTube and call themselves readers, or call themselves I don't call myself this, but a psychic, and they can't even tell me which tarot card is which on the tree of life. But beneficent, what is going on with my Mercury? The benevolent side of Jupiter will say, you can still tap into your intuition. You can still get great information. There are beautiful tarot readers who relate with people online just off of them sharing their stories by what they get triggered by in the cards, not necessarily them knowing the whole textbook definition of one card or knowing where the card goes on the tree of life, etc., etc., etc. But let's say the dark occultist or the esoteric higher up is going to really, really, dismiss perhaps the whole tarot community as a whole, any pick a card channel, or just anybody that they feel does not have the same level of rigor that they have when it comes to tarot. And so this is the shadow and the benevolence of Jupiter. So benevolence is seeing like the bigger picture, understanding that, okay, smooth jazz might not be jazz, but it really sounds good and it really touches the soul and it really heals a lot of people. And that's what music is about, right? And then this shadow of knowing so much information that it can actually constrain you, or it kind of does the opposite, where you kind of get in a box and you start being too judgmental of other practices, because art is art, right? And we also see this with religion, right? People knowing their Bible so much they don't even want to call certain people Christian, so they start kind of being judgmental to other Christians, depending on how much knowledge, how much rigor, how much Jupiter they've really again, my Mercury, how much Jupiter that they have obtained, That's what I'll say. Obtained or gathered. I like that better, gathered. So yeah, so you can look at the Wheel of Fortune, right? Temperance. I feel like Temperance is definitely more of a benevolent energy. But once it goes into its shadow, or the Wheel of Fortune goes into its shadow, and let's say it's by the Emperor, right? And the Emperor represents Zeus. And Zeus has a connection with the Roman god Jupiter, right? So even though the Emperor in like modern times is Mars, Aries, right? There is, depending, like if you go into, and I'm actually in this part of France, like if you go to, like, I'm not in Marseille, but say you go Tarot Marseille, just so I don't tell too, I have a tendency to tell like all my business, but, but say you go to Tarot Marseille, right? Which is like a city in France. A province in France? A city in France? Anyway. And you see Zeus, right? As the Hierophant card. Yeah, here we go. Hierophant card. Even though the Hierophant is Venus and Taurus. Emperor is Aries and Mars. So you see Zeus. And then you see the High Priestess, which would be Juno. Okay. Because they used to have a female pope back in the day in those cards. But Juno has this really, this relationship with Zeus, and it's this whole Jupiter, Juno. You can actually see Juno in the sky as a constellation. And so I will be getting into that more. The story of Jupiter in the cards of the Hierophant and the High Priestess, Juno and Jupiter, the mythology of that, and how we can also see the energy of Jupiter through these cards, right? But it's just really cool way to use the shadow and the benevolence of Jupiter through these main cards here. Two of Pentacles, Temperance, Wheel of Fortune, Eight of Swords. That's that. Maybe you got the Eight of Swords through the Three of Cups and someone's being very judgmental of like a group, 12 on the clock. I'm going to leave it there. 3, which is 6. And 6 is the number of Jupiter as well, which is really great with Juno because she is like a badass goddess for mothers and fertility and everything. And we know that 6 is a very mothering energy. So I just hope this little talk helped some of you guys out, or you found it interesting. I'll see you guys later. And I definitely hope this gave you the life force, rejuvenation, and paradigm shift that you needed for your journey. I'm always honored to be on this journey with you guys. And I will see you next time. Peace.